I searched garden gnome one time as a joke. I searched garden gnome one time as a joke. That was a mistake. By morning, my Instagram was a gnome catalog. Every reel between cooking videos was a man in cargo shorts whispering about the gnome lifestyle. I scrolled past, but the algorithm didn't take a hint. It took a vow. YouTube ads started playing mid-podcast. Tired of a soulless yard? I muted them. My phone kept suggesting Pinterest boards titled Cottagecore Sanctum. Josie glanced over my shoulder and snorted. Babe, your phone thinks you're a 50-year-old woman named Doreen. It's a glitch, I told her, so I tried to fix it. I searched for cars, sports, normal guy things. The algorithm absorbed it and got worse. Now I was getting ads for gnomes holding tiny footballs, so I deleted the apps, but Josie's phone started showing them. Why am I seeing this? She asked, holding up a video of a man kissing a gnome on the forehead. So I bought one, just one, a small ceramic gnome from the hardware store, thinking if I gave the algorithm what it wanted, it would calm down. I set it on the windowsill facing the yard. The next morning, it was facing the couch. Did you move that? Josie asked. Glitch, I said. The Etsy emails came next. Based on your interests, Josie found a package on the porch I didn't order, then another, then 6. So I stopped opening them, but the company started calling. Sir, your Gnome Society membership is overdue. I'd never signed up for a Gnome Society. I told Josie we were moving. She was on the couch when I came home with the boxes. The TV was on, but she wasn't watching it. She was watching the corner of the living room, where every gnome I'd been mailed sat in a neat little arc facing her. I didn't put them there, she said. The TV cut to a commercial. A man in cargo shorts smiled at the camera. Welcome to the gnome lifestyle, he said. Josie looked at me. I think we joined. The gnome on the windowsill had turned again. It was facing us now. I searched garden gnome. I'd been dating Ruby for 2 years. I searched garden gnome. I'd been dating Ruby for 2 years when she dropped a bomb on me. I am going to Miami with the girls for spring break. You're not invited. I could practically see the red flags, but I kept a straight face. Girls only? Yeah, we need girl time. I gave her a smile and nodded. Okay, have fun. She kissed my cheek, surprised I was not making it a whole thing. Really? You're the best. The first day of spring break, she posted a bunch of photos of her on the beach on Instagram. That is when her mom Diana called. Ben, honey, I need to show you something. Can you come over? 20 minutes later, I was sitting at Diana's kitchen island. She slid her phone across the counter with shaking hands, and on the screen was Ruby's secret Instagram. The most recent photo was Ruby in a tiny red dress sitting on some guy's lap at a rooftop club, his hands on her waist. The next one was them kissing on the beach at sunset with the caption, "What happens in Miami stays in Miami." Diana sat down across from me. I am so sorry. I sat with it for a second. Then I thought about how this woman had been more family to me than Ruby ever was. Diana, want to do something absolutely crazy? She raised an eyebrow. How crazy? I shrugged. Ever been to Amsterdam? Her jaw dropped and she started laughing. Then she stopped. I mean, she stood up and walked to her laptop. Let me check flights. 3 hours later, we were sitting in first-class seats on a plane to Amsterdam. Diana took a selfie of us with her champagne raised. Should I post this? I shook my head. Not yet. Let's wait until we have more photos. Maximum impact. We were sitting at a canal-side cafe in Amsterdam when I posted everything on Instagram. Sunsets, tulip fields, 2 of us on a canal boat, all with the caption, "Best spring break ever." Ruby's messages started immediately. What the heck, Ben? Is that my mother? Where are you? On her 20th call, I picked up. Ben, what are you doing with my mother? Having an amazing time. How is Miami? How is your guy friend? Silence. Ben, I can explain. I laughed. Don't bother. We're done. Enjoy Miami. I hung up, put my phone on silent, and picked up my coffee. Diana raised her glass. To karma. I clinked mine against hers. To karma. Then I kissed her. I'd been dating Ruby. I walked up to my Uber and got inside, but then we stopped at the first red light, and the door immediately swung open. A woman I'd never seen dropped into the seat beside me and screamed at the driver, "Admit you're kidnapping this child." My blood froze because I'd driven hundreds of times and this has never happened. My driver shook his head, but she pulled back her jacket and flashed a pistol. "I know you're kidnapping him. Now drive us to the police station." I gripped my seat in horror because I always checked the car's plates before getting in and knew this man was my driver. My hand shook as I showed her my Uber app. "He's my driver, ma'am. This is his Toyota." But she wouldn't even look at it and just pulled me into her chest while we drove. "It's okay, honey. I'm gonna get you out of this." I saw the driver's hands shake and he muttered something to himself as we turned off course. I remember putting my phone between my legs and texting 911, but she yanked it from my hands as I was about to hit send. I screamed, "What are you doing?" But but she chucked it out the window. I watched my last hope hit the pavement. She said, "You can buy a new phone. You can't buy a new life," then pressed her pistol into the driver's hip and screamed at him, "To the station, now." We pulled into the police station, and I almost cried with relief. A cop saw the woman's gun and instantly drew his own firearm at her. He wrenched my door open and I fell out, talking faster than I ever had. "She's insane. She thinks my Uber driver is kidnapping me." The driver immediately got out with his hands up. "Officer, this woman is crazy." The cop told him, "Open your trip, now." The driver swiped his phone and held it out, and I saw the ride right there with my name on it. But then the cop looked closer. He zoomed in on his screen. "Wait, that driver doesn't look like you." My eyes went wide in shock, and when I looked closer, I realized the driver's nose didn't match his picture. The cop instantly tackled him into the pavement, and that's when we heard it. A faint grunt coming from the trunk. Another cop popped the trunk, and my knees buckled because a man was tied up inside, out cold, but breathing. His nose matched perfectly to the picture on the app. I realized this was the real driver. The woman fell to her knees, crying, pointing at him. I knew I recognized him. This man kidnapped my son 2 years ago, pretending to be his Uber. I hugged her, and as I watched him getting cuffed, I realized I was one red light from being like her son. I walked up to my Uber and got inside. I spun the bottle to play the kissing game and watched it land on my sister. Now I didn't want to kiss my sister, so I invoked the rule we'd established and gave my unlocked phone to the person on my right. Brian started scrolling my texts and laughing, and I was going beet red, but then he got to my camera roll. He saw a photo of a bloody knife, and the laughing immediately stopped. He kept scrolling and found more photos of rope, a body bag, and finally a picture of his little brother through the window. I went pale, because Brian's brother had mysteriously died a few months ago, and even though I had no idea how these photos got here, it now looked like I was the killer. I tried to explain I'd been set up, but the room was already silent. And Brian's eyes had gone black. "What the hell is this?" He stood up and shoved me in wall. I put my hands up to say I didn't know, and that's when someone pulled out their phone to call police. I screamed no, but then Brian ripped the phone from their hand. "I have a better idea." He turned and left the room, and that's when I remembered something horrific. Brian had brought a gun to the party intending to shoot bottles out the back. I was shaking and begged someone to believe I was innocent, but everyone had backed away. Brian came back in with one hand behind his back and started walking towards me. I stepped back, but he got closer and pulled out a knife. Everyone screamed as he raised it over his head. "This is for my brother." He swung, but someone tackled him last second, knocking the knife away and pinning him down. "Don't do anything stupid, please." But Brian wasn't listening and kept reaching for the fallen knife and trying to get up. I looked over and noticed my phone still on the floor. I picked it up to look where these photos came from, and noticed they'd been saved to my phone 40 minutes ago. The only person who had my password here was my sister. I looked up at her, and she was the only one not panicking. I grabbed her arm. "Did you plant these photos?" She nodded immediately. I went red and raised my voice. "Did you kill Brian's brother?" Everyone was suddenly staring at her instead of me. She turned green like she was sick and opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, Brian's voice echoed from behind. He'd managed to stand up. "So one of you two killed him, huh? Well, I'm about to find out who." He started walking out, but this time towards the room where his bag was. Everyone went into panic, and that's when my sister blurted out as loud as she could. "It was Brian. Brian killed his own brother." My jaw dropped, but I wasn't sure if I should believe her. She explained she witnessed him do it and took the photos as proof, but when I asked why she never went to the police, she stammered. I was too scared in case he found out." The whole room was divided, but then seconds later, Brian returned with a gun. The safety was off, and his eyes were red. He raised it at me, and I clenched my teeth, bracing for impact. But somebody from behind got him just in time. We pinned him down and took out his phone and found photos of his brother's death time stamped from that night. I spun the bottle to play the kissing game and watched it land on my...
Muscle Milk, now with a...
My 9-year-old daughter handed a man a crayon map of our neighborhood garage sale and said, "Start at our driveway if you want the good stuff." I was still taping a $2 sign to an old toaster when she pointed him away from Mrs. Kovalik's table across the street. 2 days earlier, she had watched 3 hours of Storage Wars beside me and announced, "Dad, we're leaving money on the table." By Saturday morning, she was outside before I had coffee, sorting our junk and repricing everything. My $5 lamp was now $12 with vintage dorm vibe written under it. I started to object, but she handed me a roll of quarters. "You're on change." By 9, she had sold 2 broken remotes as backup buttons and bundled my old golf glove with a mug that said "World's Okayest Uncle." At 10, she marched to Mrs. Kovalik's empty table, came back with porcelain ducks, and said, "I get 20%. Mrs. Kovalik followed her over and snatched the box back. 20% for carrying ducks across the street? My daughter didn't blink. She set one duck beside our lava lamp, added a candle, and wrote, "Weird Aunt Starter Pack." A woman bought it for $14 before Mrs. Kovalik finished complaining. 2 more neighbors brought boxes. My daughter gave Mr. Pruitt a receipt, sent me to crowd management, which meant standing by the curb smiling, and sold the lava lamp by calling it main character lighting. When a woman offered $3 for a desk chair marked 10, my daughter added a throw pillow and a pencil cup. Bundle price is $14. The woman paid it. My mouth stayed open long enough for my daughter to drop a donut into it and say, "Hydrate, sales team." At 4, she closed the cash box and walked house to house with exact bills folded into envelopes. Mrs. Kovalik got $18.40. Mr. Pruitt got $31. My daughter kept a handwritten ledger under her arm like she was collecting rent. Back home, she sat at the kitchen table, paper-clipped 3 pages together, and slid them to me. The cover said, "Weekend Report." Page 1 listed our prices beside her prices. Page 2 said consignment by house. Page 3 said dead inventory moved through strategic bundles. I stared at the total. She had made more than I did at work that day. "Where did you learn markup, consignment, and dead inventory?" I asked. She kept counting her stack. "Storage Wars, Dad. They do this every episode." She circled my toaster and wrote, "Should have been $8. My 9-year-old daughter handed a man a crayon map of our neighborhood garage sale and said, "Start at our drive." A man with bloodshot eyes blocked me from getting on the bus and pressed a note into my hand. "Don't sit near the devil." I balled up the note and shoved past him thinking he was some drunk. But when I tapped my transit card, I saw a woman in the 3rd row wearing bright red plastic devil horns, and my grip tightened on the pole. I sat a few aisles behind her, and the man was pressed flat against the outside window, pointing at her with both hands, mouthing the word "devil" over and over. I opened the window to ask him what he was talking about, but the bus started moving, and as the man got smaller, I saw tears streaming down his face. I subtly leaned down the aisle to look at the woman, and her eyes were already locked with mine through the crack in the headrests. Her hands were gripping something so tight in her purse that her knuckles were white. I texted 911 with shaking thumbs, and the reply came fast. "Can you see a weapon?" So I crept 2 aisles up and peered between the seats, and in her bag was the outline of something metal. Her eyes were locked with mine, and when they dropped to the phone in my hand, she grinned. "I'm going to kill us all." I typed yes, and the second I hit send, she was out of her seat with her arm around the driver's neck. The bus swerved left and right, and everyone was screaming. My phone buzzed against my palm. "Officers at the next stop. Stay in your seat." But when she dug into the bag, I knew I couldn't sit still. I dove up the aisle and wrapped both arms around hers, pinning the purse shut against her chest while she thrashed and howled in my ear. The driver stood on the brakes, the bus screeched into the stop, and the jolt ripped her out of my arms and threw me into the seats. She grabbed the weapon from her purse and turned toward the passengers. Bang! An officer stood in the open doors with his gun raised, and she crumpled against the window, grabbing her wounded arm. Everyone poured out onto the sidewalk while 2 officers hauled her off the bus. I dug the note out of my pocket, smoothed it flat against my leg, and handed it to the officer taking my statement. He read it and went quiet. "That's her husband. He's been chasing this route all morning trying to warn people. Every call we got today was about him, not the woman." A man with bloodshot eyes blocked me from getting on the bus and pressed a...
Last summer, I completely...
My neighbor Karen stormed over to my 8-year-old son's lemonade stand and screamed that what he was doing was illegal. Karen had her own smoothie stand across the street and screamed, "You're stealing my customers." My son tried to explain he was raising money for his dog's cancer surgery, but she kicked over the sign. "I don't care. I'm going for lunch until 2. If this stand is still here when I'm back, I'll call the cops." She stormed away, and my son was so scared he started taking down his stand. But I ran outside and immediately put it back up. "But she said she'll call police, Dad. She can call the Pope if she wants. Your stand is staying." His face lit up, and my wife came outside and got in her car. "I have something special for Karen." She drove off, and I instantly texted everyone I knew. Within minutes, most of the neighborhood was at my son's stand, buying lemonade and giving tips, all to support my son's dog and to spite Karen. "I can't wait to see her reaction," my son laughed. My wife came back with her car, and my son's best friend got out with his own lemonade stand. Karen complained about 1 lemonade stand. What do you think she'll say about 2 lemonade stands? My wife drove off again, and both lemonade stands started instantly selling out. My son was getting closer to the surgery target, and when I looked over, someone was writing "hates puppies" on Karen's smoothie stand. At 2 p.m., Karen's SUV turned the corner. The whole street went silent. She stepped out and saw the 2 lemonade stands, as well as the 2 lines of people. Her face twisted with anger. She screamed, "What the hell?" But that's when my wife pulled in again. My son's dog got out of the car, wrapped in bandages. He started licking my son, and I announced, "Everyone, this is Max, the dog whose cancer surgery Karen tried to stop." She went red with embarrassment and pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "I'm having you arrested. This is a disgrace." But that's when an officer stepped out from the crowd, holding a cup of my son's lemonade. He told Karen, "Kids under 14 don't need permits for a lemonade stand, but your smoothie stand needs a business license. Do you have one?" Her face deflated as the cop walked over to her stand and shut it down. She dropped to her knees screaming, and that's when my son walked over and reached out a cup. "Hey Karen, you just helped me hit my goal. Here's some lemonade." My neighbor Karen stormed over to my 8-year-old son. The coolest kid in school asked me if I wanted to go train surfing, and right as I was about to say yes, my best friend Sam stopped me. "Are you insane? That's dangerous." But I pointed at the matching safety watches he made us both wear. "You won't even let me ride a bike without one of these. You're too safe and boring. I just want to have fun." Drew was already climbing toward the tracks and screamed, "Are you in or out?" I shook Sam off, but Sam whispered, "He only cares about himself. You'll see." I didn't understand what he meant until later that day. Moments later, we sprinted alongside a moving train, and I grabbed the ladder, my fingers shaking with every rung as I pulled myself to the top. The wind ripped past my face, and I'd never felt so alive. Drew was howling with laughter, and for a second, Sam's warning felt stupid. But then we heard sirens. Cops saw us and were chasing the train, screaming at us to get down. My heart pounded because this wasn't fun anymore. It was terrifying. The train lurched faster, and I dropped flat, my knuckles white against the cold metal roof, my heart slamming so hard my safety watch buzzed, flashing 180. I couldn't move. "Drew, I can't move. Help me." But Drew was already swinging down the ladder to jump. He looked back at me and smirked. "I'm not helping you. Not my fault you're a puss-puss." Then he leapt off the train and rolled into the grass, sprinting away. And right then, it hit me. He only cared about himself, and I was either going to die or get arrested. I reached for the ladder, but my sweaty grip slipped. I fell off, and everything went black. When I woke up, I realized I was in a ditch far outside the city, my body broken and bleeding. The train was long gone. I was completely alone, and no one knew where I was. I thought I was going to die, but then I heard footsteps running towards me. It was Sam, out of breath. "I thought you were dead. What the hell happened?" I almost cried of relief, but I was confused. "How did you even find me? I'm so far away." Sam pointed at my watch. "Your watch showed your heart rate spiked to 180, and then flatline movement. I tracked your location and came as fast as I could." I was in shock. The watch I made fun of was the one that saved my life. When I finally arrived at the hospital, I told Sam, "You were right. Drew only cared about himself. What happened to him anyway?" Sam laughed. "He's cooked. The cops arrested him when he jumped off the train. We dabbed each other up, and I never called him boring again." The coolest kid in school asked me if I wanted to go train surfing,